often find yourself in situations where a meticulously prepared presentation fails to yield the expected impact or follow-up? Or perhaps you feel that the key message simply wasn't conveyed effectively to the audience. The book Pitch by Danny Fontaine offers a systematic solution to these challenges. In this video, we will summarize the core concepts from the book, allowing you to master its main principles clearly and efficiently. We'll discuss how to structure a presentation that is not only informative, but also memorable and persuasive. Let's dive in.
Imagine you're at a social gathering. The music is soft, the chatter is lively, and someone turns to you with that classic question, "So, what do you do?" You seize the moment. You launch into a well-rehearsed summary of your role, your company's mission, and the industry jargon that defines your daily life. You talk about optimizing workflows, leveraging synergies, and disruptive innovation. About 2 minutes in, you notice a subtle shift. Their smile becomes vexed. Their eyes begin to dart around the room, searching for an escape route. Soon enough, they mumble an excuse about needing a refill or spotting someone they know, and they're gone. Now picture a different scenario. You're in a sterile conference room, standing before a board of decision makers. You've spent weeks perfecting a 60-slide deck packed with data, charts, and projections. You're armed with features and benefits, but as you click through, you see the same glazed-over look. They're physically present, but mentally, they've already left the building. These two situations, those seemingly worlds apart, are fundamentally the same. They both represent a failure of connection. In a world saturated with information and endless pitches, the old methods of persuasion, relying on logic, data, and features, are no longer enough. We've been trained to believe that the best argument wins, but what if we've been wrong? This is the core insight of the modern approach to pitching. True persuasion isn't about telling, it's about making people feel. It's not about presenting a problem, it's about allowing your audience to experience it. The most powerful pitches aren't lectures, they are journeys. They transform passive listeners into active participants and skeptical evaluators into empathetic allies. This summary will guide you through a new philosophy of persuasion. We will explore how to captivate any audience by creating unforgettable experiences, why playing it safe is the riskiest move you can make, how to choose your battles wisely, the crucial emotional sequence of any successful appeal, and, finally, how to harness your own energy to deliver a peak performance when it matters most. Welcome to the art of the experiential pitch.
Chapter 1. Beyond Slides, the Power of an Immersive Experience. Let's begin with a story that redefines what a pitch can be. A public school teacher is facing a critical budget meeting with the local school board. She could have prepared a presentation filled with graphs showing declining test scores, photos of dilapidated equipment, and a spreadsheet pleading for more funds. It would have been factual, it would have been justified, and it almost certainly would have been forgotten amidst a dozen other funding requests. But she chose a different path. When the board members arrived, she didn't direct them to the conference room. She ushered them into a classroom. But this wasn't a normal classroom. She had arranged for them to sit at broken, wobbly desks. She handed them outdated textbooks whose bindings were so loose, pages fluttered to the floor. Then she gave them a simple assignment to complete on a row of ancient, sluggish computers, half of which wouldn't even boot up. For 10 full minutes, these powerful decision-makers, accustomed to ergonomic chairs and high-speed internet, struggled. They felt the frustration of a desk that wouldn't stay still. They experienced the embarrassment of a book falling apart in their hands. They shared the agony of waiting for a computer to process a simple command. They weren't being told about the problem. They were living it. When the teacher finally spoke, her words landed with the force of a shared truth. "This," she said calmly, "is what our students face every single day. This is the reality of our current funding. We need your support to change this." The budget was approved unanimously. This story illustrates the fundamental shift in perspective required for modern persuasion. A great pitch is not a data transfer, it is an experience delivery. Your goal is not to simply inform your audience, but to lead them to their own conclusion through a carefully crafted encounter. Think of a software company selling a new data management system to a hospital. Instead of a slide deck touting streamlined workflows and efficiency gains, they could stage a live simulation. They could divide the hospital executives into two teams. One team has to locate a critical piece of patient information using their old, fragmented system. The other has the new integrated platform. The first team takes 5 frantic minutes, simulating a life-or-death delay. The second finds the information in 30 seconds. The value of the software is no longer an abstract claim. It is a visceral, unforgettable reality. The executives don't just understand the benefit, they have felt the relief and the urgency. This is experiential pitching. It uses immersion, whether through a physical simulation or a compelling story or a powerful demonstration, as its primary tool of persuasion. You move beyond telling your audience why they should care, and instead you create a context where they discover the reason for themselves.
Chapter 2: The Peril of the Predictable. Given the power of this approach, why do most of us instinctively default to the safety of a standard slide presentation? The answer lies in a quirk of human psychology. Our brains are wired for efficiency. To navigate a complex world without being overwhelmed, our minds operate on a kind of autopilot, relying on mental shortcuts and familiar patterns. This is excellent for conserving energy, but it's disastrous for anyone trying to deliver a memorable message. When an audience enters a room, sees a screen, and expects a PowerPoint presentation, their brains click into a passive reception mode. It's the corporate equivalent of highway hypnosis. You're moving forward, but you're not truly engaged with the journey. This numbing effect of repetition creates a kind of immunity. After sitting through hundreds of decks with the same corporate templates, the same bullet points, and the same structures, listeners' attention drifts and their retention plummets. The very familiarity that makes you feel secure in your delivery is what ensures your message will be lost in the sea of sameness. Therefore, the safest choice, sticking to the proven format, is actually the most dangerous one. It guarantees your presentation will be ignored. To break through this mental autopilot, you must introduce deliberate and thoughtful disruption. When you confront an audience with something novel, an unexpected format, an unusual setting, or a surprising opening, you trigger a physiological response. The brain, jolted out of its routine, snaps to attention. It begins to process information more deeply, asking, "What is this? Why is it different?" This state of alertness is the fertile ground where your ideas can take root. Embracing this approach requires a cultural shift towards intelligent risk-taking. It involves accepting that not every experiment will be a flawless success. Some ideas will fall flat. But these so-called failures are not disasters. They are data.
They provide invaluable intelligence about what resonates with your audience and what doesn't. As the founder of IBM once noted, the key to increasing your success rate is to double your failure rate. The goal is not reckless abandon, but a mindset of systemic exploration. Create an environment where your team feels safe to test unconventional ideas, to iterate rapidly, and to learn from the results. The insights gained from these courageous experiments will ultimately yield far greater impact than the predictable and ultimately forgettable recycling of the same tired presentation you've always given.
Chapter 3: The Strategic Art of Selection. Before you invest your creative energy and resources into crafting an experiential pitch, there is a critical and often overlooked first step. You must qualify the opportunity. Not every invitation to present is a genuine chance to win. Pouring your heart into a pitch that was never truly winnable is not dedication. It is a strategic misallocation of your most precious assets: time, talent, and morale. Consider the story of a mid-sized design agency that received a seemingly transformative invitation to pitch for a global rebranding project for a Fortune 500 company. The potential fee was enormous. The team was ecstatic. But a seasoned partner decided to do some digging. He discovered that the client had been with the same agency for over 10 years. The CEO of that agency was a regular golf partner with the client's chief marketing officer. Most tellingly, the project brief contained oddly specific technical requirements that matched the incumbent agency's proprietary methods perfectly. The picture became clear this was not a true competition. It was a procedural exercise, a check-the-box meeting to satisfy corporate procurement rules. The decision had already been made. This scenario reveals an uncomfortable truth. Some pitch contests are illusions. Companies may use multiple bidders as stalking horses to pressure their preferred vendor on price, or simply to fulfill a regulatory requirement to gather multiple quotes. If you're not careful, you can become an unwitting pawn in someone else's negotiation. To avoid this, you must become a master of qualification. Before you say yes, ask tough, clarifying questions. Who is the client, really? Is this request coming out of the blue, or is there an existing relationship? What is the decision-making process? Will you have access to the actual budget holders and decision-makers? Is the budget realistic? Can this organization truly afford your services? What is the true motive? Are they genuinely dissatisfied and looking for change, or are they just going through the motions? Equally important is qualifying yourself. This is an honest internal assessment. Do you have a unique advantage in this situation? Do you possess the specific expertise and track record to deliver exceptional results? Is the proposed timeline and budget conducive to quality work? Most importantly, is this client and project aligned with your company's values and long-term goals? Winning the wrong piece of business can be more costly than losing. Sometimes, the most powerful strategic move you can make is to gracefully decline the invitation. This act alone can shift the dynamic, forcing the client to reveal their true intentions and demonstrating that your time and expertise are valuable and finite. By focusing only on strategically promising opportunities, you ensure that your most powerful pitches are reserved for battles you can actually win. Chapter 4: The Emotional Sequence. Feel first, think second. Once you've qualified your opportunity and decided to move forward, you face the central challenge of any pitch: how to structure your message. The conventional, backward approach is to lead with logic. We arm ourselves with facts, figures, and features, believing that a rational case will lead a rational audience to a rational conclusion. But decades of psychological research have proven this model flawed. Humans are not purely rational beings. We are emotional creatures who rationalize our feelings. When you meet a skeptical audience with a wall of data, you often trigger a defensive response. Their brains don't evaluate your information fairly. Instead, they become expert fault finders, cherry-picking weaknesses and dismissing your strengths. You can't logic your way past an emotional barrier. The correct sequence is to lead with feeling and only then follow with facts. To illustrate, let's compare two startup founders pitching the same panel of investors. Bob represents the old model. He opens his laptop and begins a methodical march through his deck. Market size, competitive landscape, technology specs, financial projections. By slide 20, the investors' eyes have glazed over. They already have a favorite company in this sector, and every new data point Bob provides simply gives them more ammunition to use against him. They are emotionally closed off, and his logic is bouncing off a wall of resistance. Diana is pitching a revolutionary healthcare device. She walks into the room, but she doesn't open her laptop. Instead, she looks the investors in the eye and begins a story. She tells them about the night her young daughter had a severe asthma attack. She describes the terror of watching her child struggle to breathe, the panic of a frantic drive to the emergency room, the profound helplessness of holding a malfunctioning monitoring device that gave her no warning. In just 90 seconds, the energy in the room transforms. The investors, many of them parents, are no longer analytical critics. They are connecting. They are feeling. They remember their own moments of fear and vulnerability. They're now emotionally invested in Diana's mission. Now she opens her laptop. Now she shows the technical specifications, the market analysis, the business model. But the investors aren't looking for flaws. They're looking for confirmation. They want her to succeed. The facts are no longer being used to build a case from scratch against resistance. They're being used to validate an emotional truth that has already been established. Diana worked with human psychology, not against it. She understood that people decide with their gut and justify it with their head. The lesson is not to abandon facts, but to get the sequence right. Use emotion to open the door and dissolve resistance. Then use logic to give your audience the intellectual permission to act on what they already fundamentally feel. Chapter 5. Mastering the Moment, the Performer's Mindset. The day has arrived. You've done the strategic work. You've crafted an immersive, emotionally compelling experience, and now you stand moments away from the performance. This is where theory meets practice, and where many great pitches can be derailed by one formidable opponent, your own nervous system. It's perfectly natural. Your palms are sweaty, your heart is racing, your mind is buzzing with what-ifs. The traditional approach is to try to fight these feelings, to suppress the nerves. But a more powerful strategy is to reframe your relationship with them. Understand that pre-performance anxiety is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you care. More importantly, the physiological arousal you're experiencing, the rapid heartbeat, the quickened breath, the heightened awareness, is nearly identical to the state of excitement. Olympic athletes are masters at interpreting these same physical signals not as fear, but as readiness, as vitality waiting to be channeled. This simple cognitive reframe, telling yourself, I am excited instead of I am nervous, can transform that energy from a paralyzing force into a propulsive one. Beyond mindset, you can use practical techniques to master your physiology. 1. Conscious breathing. Your breath is a direct remote control for your nervous system. When anxiety strikes, breathing becomes rapid and shallow, amplifying the stress response. Counter it with deliberate breathing. A technique like box breathing, inhaling for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, and holding again for 4, can physiologically slow your heart rate and induce calm. Practice this daily so it becomes an automatic tool you can deploy in the moments before you begin. 2. Curate your internal dialogue. Your inner critic can be loudest when the stakes are high. Don't let its vague fears run unchecked. Take a proactive approach. Write down each negative thought. I'm going to forget my lines. They won't like me. Then counter it with an evidence-based, rational response. I have rehearsed this thoroughly. I am here because I am an expert on this topic. This process transforms amorphous anxiety into manageable, specific concerns that you can rationally dismiss. 3. Embody confidence. Your body language doesn't just communicate to others, it communicates to you. Research has shown that adopting power poses, standing tall, feet shoulder-width apart, hands on hips, chest open, for just 2 minutes can increase testosterone linked to confidence and decrease cortisol, the stress hormone. Before you step into the room, find a private space and strike a pose. Combine this with visualizing a past moment of great success, allowing those positive feelings to flood back into your present self. Remember, you are not a supplicant begging for approval. You are a professional offering something of genuine value. Your passion and your belief are your greatest assets. That nervous energy is the raw material of your charisma. Trust in your meticulous preparation. Embrace the intensity of the moment. Let your authentic passion for your work shine through. And you will not just deliver a pitch, you will deliver a performance that moves people to action.
Conclusion: the unforgettable impression. The journey through the art of the experiential pitch brings us to a single, powerful conclusion. Persuasion in the modern world is not won by the most data, but by the most memorable connection. The goal is to move beyond the transactional exchange of information and into the transformative realm of shared experience. We have learned that the most dangerous path is often the well-trodden one of safe, predictable presentations that allow your audience's minds to wander. Instead, we must have the courage to disrupt, to surprise, and to engage the senses, not just the intellect. We have seen the critical importance of strategy, of qualifying both the opportunity and ourselves to ensure that our creative energy is invested in battles that are genuine and aligned with our strengths. This discernment is the foundation upon which successful pitches are built. At the heart of it all is the understanding of human psychology. The golden sequence is immutable: emotion first, logic second. By opening the heart, we pave the way for the mind to follow. We must tell stories that resonate, create demonstrations that astonish, and build experiences that are felt deeply and remembered long after the final slide is faded. And when the moment of truth arrives, we must step into the role of the performer, not with a scripted inauthenticity, but with a harnessed and focused energy that transforms natural nerves into compelling presence. A great pitch, in the end, can take almost any form. It can be a story, a simulation, a conversation, or a demonstration. It can happen in a boardroom, a classroom, or even a cocktail party. The medium is irrelevant. The outcome is everything. A great pitch is anything that creates a single, indelible moment of understanding and feeling for your audience. A moment that compels them not just to agree, but to act. That concludes the book summary for this episode. Hopefully the discussion opened up new insights for you. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.